On April 14th, just before midnight, the world's largest and most luxurious ocean liner hit an iceberg. If only the passengers and crew knew that this was the beginning of the end. We have all heard the story of the Titanic, debatably one of the most tragic ship disasters the world has ever seen. But what really happened that April night, and what could have happened that might have preserved the lives of thousands? Well, it all started long before the ship ever sailed. Let's go back about 5 years to 1907 when a company called the White Star Line started the construction of 3 sister ships, all of massive proportions. These ships were called the Olympic, Britannic, and Titanic. The Olympic was the first to finish construction in 1910, and less than a year later, the Titanic was completed. Now, to understand what pressure the White Star Line was under, you must know this. The company's rival, the Cunard Line, had successfully completed the fastest ship in the world and brought good business to Cunard, but bad business to the White Star Line. The obvious solution went up the Cunard Line, though they did not know how to make a faster ship, so instead they started working on 3 massive ships. Now fast forward a few years to the completion of the Titanic. People are in awe trying to fathom the sheer size of this titan. The Titanic was dubbed Unsinkable, the Millionaire Special, and other names that glorified the ship. Now, before we explore the first and last voyage of the Titanic, let's talk about the design of the Titanic and how it made millions think of this ship as unsinkable. Well, for starters, it's a massive ship. That alone is intimidating and was one of the causes for people to think of the ship as unsinkable. In addition, as a safety precaution, the hull was divided into sections. Walls that stretched almost as high as the hull were installed where the hull was divided. There were doors that made it so you could walk freely through the hull if the doors were not activated. The doors could be activated in a matter of seconds from the bridge. It is good to know that there was no other way out of the hull than through these doors. This gave the Titanic a safety valve. The idea that if the hull was ruptured in a divided section, the doors would be activated to keep water from spilling out into other compartments, managing the ship's water intake. The only problem with this is that the ship can only hold so many sections full of water. If the water spilled out or flooded any more compartments than the ship was designed to take, inevitably the ship would sink. Okay, now let's get back to the Titanic's launch. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic left Southampton, England, starting its voyage. What many people do not know about the sinking of the Titanic is that the iceberg that hit the Titanic only sank it because of something that happened on board the Titanic before it even left. There was a fire on the starboard side of the Titanic which weakened the Titanic's hull. This event sealed the fate of the Titanic. Due to the fire, the starboard side, the same side as in which the iceberg hit, was damaged. Due to the rush and to make Titanic look good, the White Star Line kept the Titanic on schedule and not delaying it for repairs. I believe that if this fire never happened, or if it was repaired, the Titanic wouldn't have hit the iceberg, and if it had, the hull wouldn't have ruptured as badly. After 4 smooth days of sailing, we come across the fateful night. Just before midnight, at 11:40 p.m., an iceberg was spotted. The bridge was informed, and First Officer William Murdoch gave the command, "Hard to starboard." This order pretty much means that the entire crew of the ship would have to work together in a matter of minutes to fully stop the engines and then reverse them in order to keep from hitting the iceberg head on. This is another mistake I believe could have actually saved the ship. If Murdoch had not given the call to turn the ship left, the iceberg would not have hit the Titanic on its weakened starboard side, and therefore, even though there still would have been damage, it probably would not have ruptured, and if so, not as badly. When the ship hit, even though the passengers just felt a little bump, it hit hard. 5 compartments ruptured and started filling up with water. This was 2 more compartments than the Titanic could handle. The captain, Edward J. Smith, was notified, and he immediately came to the bridge. The designer of the ship, who sailed on the voyage, informed Captain Smith that he believed 5 forward compartments were flooding, and the sinking had already started, and there was nothing that they could do. Smith ordered for the lifeboats to be prepared, but due to a design for more comfortable deck space, the number of lifeboats was not even enough to hold half the crew and passengers. Women and children were allowed on the lifeboats, but despite this, men went on lifeboats such as J. Bruce Ismay, the chairman of White Star Line. In a little under 3 hours, the ship sank. Early on the morning of April 15th, 705 survivors of the 2,435 passengers were rescued by the RMS Carpathia. Many people grieved their losses while sailing to their destination in a different boat. A few months later, an inquiry was launched to find the responsibility for the disaster, as well as other things. Many bodies were found, though not many people were identified. To this day, we still do not know who some of those bodies were. In 1985, the remains of the ship were found under more than 12,000 feet of water. As of today, we still think about the Titanic and we still study it. We have found a mysterious bacteria growing on the Titanic. It is estimated that within 50 years, the ship will be eaten away by the bacteria and ultimately will collapse. Lost forever. I hope you enjoyed today's video, but before you go, please hear a message from Captain Eleanor.
Be sure to like and subscribe, or else the next time you eat seafood, Davy Jones will appear and snatch it right before you take a bite.